Everybody's saying that they like my style. Wanna know how I do it? I smile. While you were out there saying hey, hi, hello, I was getting dressed up in shades of yellow.
Hello, welcome to episode 37 of the Lovely Job Podcast. I'm Leah Spicer-Pownall. I'm the marketing manager of Miss Bush, and this is...
I'm Emma Marshall. I'm the MD of Miss Bush.
Very professional, mature MD of Miss Bush who isn't trying to make me laugh again.
And also who isn't actually jiggling their desktop to make the camera wobble as well. Right, I've had enough of filming wobbling stuff already today.
Yeah, you have. I've had some very interesting videos sent to my WhatsApp this morning. Do you want to tell me what you sent me?
Well, I was looking at, I've been looking at Instagram for quite a long time this morning because I've been awake for quite a long time. I've had a very well behaved bank holiday. And I was looking at Jamila Jamil, and she's always saying that, the algorithm daddy doesn't prioritize her stuff unless she jiggles her boobs. So I basically, and she's promoting her podcast. So I thought, well, I would send you some footage of me jiggling my boobs for you to use for promotional purposes. And I don't think anybody ever sees my cleavage or watches them jiggle. Maybe Marshy, that's it. But nobody ever sees my boobs. So
No.
I never wear anything low cut. I never get them out. It's self-evident they're quite big.
Yeah, it was funny because when you sent them, I was like, yeah, Emma talks about having big boobs all the time, and I don't think I've ever seen them. It's just...
Can I just say, for those people, and if you don't see them, I was wearing a vest and a bra.
They weren't just your boobs. It wasn't topless.
No, not actually.
Imagine
freeing the nipple.
Just
no.
revealing stuff about our relationship here.
I was wearing a very mundane black vest top. But I did put a red bra on underneath it so you can see a bit of red bra edge. So it's the sort of tedious underwear equivalent of a sort of Louboutin.
Yeah, so we're just trying to think, should we put these on Instagram?
I'll leave it to you. Honestly, I'm fine with it. If you think it will advance our cause, I'm happy to take one for the team there. So yeah. I don't
let us know if you're listening to this. Do you want to see Emma's boobs? Let us know. Maybe I'll do a poll on stories.
God, I'm probably there's probably a very specialist part of the internet where people, have the hots for 58-year-old women with big boobs. I don't want to go to that part of the internet.
No, we probably don't want to track them, do we?
There is probably a specialist kind of group of people that we could suddenly become incredibly popular with. Anyway, I thought it was quite funny, and I thought that I was trying to be ironic, but maybe the irony might be less lost. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. And I was just sat here waiting for you to come onto the podcast, and I was like, another one.
Yeah. Well, I was I was trying to do it the Celeste Barber kind of option, where she takes the mick out of
she does her
supermodels doing stupid things. Yeah. So
maybe we could do a stitch with Jamila. So it starts with her, and then you get stitches with you after it.
I feel like there's going to be a really rather giant stitch somehow, but yeah, okay. But anyway, yes. So that's how I've started your morning. Literally unsolicited pictures of my boobs jiggling. So.
Okay, right. What else have we got to talk about today?
Well, I'd put on my agenda for you a bit of a bank holiday review. Yes, I've had a very quiet bank holiday weekend. I haven't really been in Southsea with nothing to do for a long time. So I got up, went to the Corner Collective Gallery where, my favourite ceramicist, Lynn, who's Southsea Mudlark. She was staging an exhibition. So I bought another one of her pieces and a couple of bits from other people. Such affordable art. I can't even. It makes me feel embarrassed that I've got things from anthropology at my house now.
Mm.
When you can go and actually support local artists.
Yeah.
And they're really cool. And their stuff is beautiful. And I was almost going to do a little kind of picture I've got some pictures from the exhibition I was going to put on stories. But I was lining her stuff up with a vase that I've got from anthropology. And then I've also got some really, really kitschy, old school Paul pottery stuff that I bought from a charity shop. So, but I just think I'm all right with the charity. It's that sort of mass produced art I'm a bit worried about now. Is that bad? Or am I just turning into a massive snob? Because
I don't think
mass-produced
so.
art now will be the kitsch charity shop finds of the future.
Yeah, although a lot of the stuff from Anthropology is from artists. Like they do have some like artist things on there. I don't
Yeah.
think Anthropology is not quite as bad. Maybe like Zara Home is probably a lot worse.
Yeah, I've probably got that too, though.
Yeah.
Although everything's a bit beige at the moment, so my house is quite colourful. So yeah, everything on there is very neutral. Like I've been just watching the what's that thing with Alan Carr, the Design Masters?
Not the Great Pottery
The
Throwdown.
Interior Design Masters.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I should watch that.
Yeah, it's quite good actually. Bit of guilty pleasure. Marshy's like, "What are you watching?" I had to do the first episode of like All Stars, Drag Race All Stars, and Marshy was like. So there are some things that are like what I would like to call ironing telly. That when I'm doing a spot of ironing, I will watch. But anyway, so interior design, done a bit of that. Yeah, I had a little wander around, saw a band at the bandstand down by the sea. Then went to go and have a spot of lunch at there's a public tennis court and there's a cafe there. It's really, really good. So a fish finger sandwich and jazz and a beer.
Oh, nice.
I know.
Lovely.
Then kind of wandered back via like George's, aka Crushed and Cured, the wine bar for a glass of rosé. Then went to the Bowls Club, the one that's right by
The
my
one
house.
that said that you weren't allowed to join?
Yeah, that one. No, you weren't allowed to play bowls.
Oh,
I could join. I mean, I can have a miniature bottle of Prosecco, which I did yesterday. And they had another band in there, which were called Sax, Drugs and Rock and Roll, which was the oldest covers band I have ever seen in my life. They were literally average age 75. They were really fun. So yeah, like that has been that's like the sum total of my bank holiday so far. I think
it's quite a busy bank holiday.
Yeah, it was just a nice little it was quite pleasant, it's a bit breezy, just wandering around doing stuff. So that was quite nice. But yeah, I just
more glamorous than mine. I went into Leicester yesterday because there was a special event on Pokemon Go. So it's the game you walk around playing Pokemon, you catch Pokemon from areas. So we went to Leicester to try and catch the big Pokemon. And we were just wandering around and then we saw a group of about 200 people walking towards us. They were all glued to their phones and we were just like, I wonder if they're playing Pokemon. And we stopped and started fighting this Pokemon. And this woman was like, hey, you guys over there, come with us. And so we joined them. And then we just walked around with this massive gang of people playing Pokemon. It was really wholesome, though. I was just like, what a nice community of people.
Well, they generally are your kind of
geeks.
Geeks, yeah, they are. It's like the LARP geeks and the kind of reenactment geeks. They tend to be nice people, or the Dungeons and Dragons geeks that like Harry invites around here for Dungeons and Dragons night. They're all lovely, charming.
Yeah, so that was nice. But yeah, not quite as glamorous as jazz and a glass of rosé.
I literally should have do you know what I was thinking? The Lovely Job Live thing which we did, which was the 3-ring circus. I was just thinking that we should do a Lovely Job Live school trip in Southsea. And then basically,
that'd be nice.
So like we can invite brides to come, but literally with no frills. Well, maybe some frills, but maybe frills that exist already. So I'd be like, why don't you join us for like breakfast here? And we'll talk about that, and lunch here, and we'll talk about that, and like a sundowner here.
That sounds nice. We were just saying before this episode we should do something special for episode 50, so maybe that's what we should do. Like a lovely job by the sea.
Lovely job by the sea with an optional school trip. Or you could make it like a real school trip and actually just have to bring a packed lunch.
Yeah. Just come to the beach with a packed lunch.
A packed lunch.
Picnic.
I'd rather go to the Bryony and like take over their terrace so that someone else could bring me like a little bowl of oysters and cockles.
Oh yeah, that sounds nice.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that was my thing. And then obviously we recorded early last week because I was in Barcelona.
Yes.
So went to Barcelona again on Monday with Chloe and Charlie, my son's girlfriend, who was like basically your like deputy.
Yes, she was basically my hands in another country.
Yeah. Ears and eyes, basically. Yeah. So she was filming, and I mean, talk about enthusiastic. I mean, literally, we were filmed from the moment we stepped into Gatwick to everything, to out the plane window, to landing, welcome to Barcelona, signs all over. I mean, I don't like, you've got a lot of footage to work
There's
with
so
there.
much, yeah.
Yeah.
Literally every single moment is documented, which is great. I was really pleased to have so much to work with.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll be sharing that, I guess, over the next, like, well,
Yeah.
I think you said you might do a sneak peek
I'm doing a
reel.
trailer. I'm going to do
Yeah.
a trailer that's going to come out this week, and then the first thing that coming out after that is like a full length video introducing what's happening and the trip to Barcelona.
Yeah.
So yes, it's going to be very exciting.
It's quite interesting, isn't it? Trying to, like, obviously Chloe has been working with us for 9 years, and I think we're going to get her as a guest on the podcast, aren't we, as well?
Yes,
so
we are. We need to put that in.
We need to, like, yeah, definitely do that. It's kind of interesting because we've got to keep her wedding dress quiet, but it's not unusual seeing a picture of her in her wedding dress, dress. And also she's worn a lot of Jesus Peiro wedding dresses as well.
Yeah, and I there's some in the past that she's worn that I think are quite similar to what she's going to have. So I'm going to be like, I can't share any of those either, because that's kind of like a sneak peek.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, you know, I suppose it's a sort of, well, I suppose at least I feel like she's got her own real style and real unique look, though. So, you know, and she has just got, I remember we were together, not this year, but last year in Barcelona, and we went to a Zara and we were buying something. And the Zara staff in Barcelona are famously quite rude. They're ruder than any other Zara staff in the world. I guess that's not surprising somewhat, but you know, the place is always very frenetic, isn't it? But they were like, they basically, so two people did a double take at her in the queue until they went, oh my God, you look like a doll. And like, in a really like stunned kind of way. And I think the thing is with Chloe is when you see her and she's really tall and she's really kind of porcelain-like, she is very doll-like, and she's quite arresting in real life. So as much as everyone that goes to her wedding will have seen her in a lot of dresses and it won't be a surprise, she is very,
Seeing her in
very
person
arresting in real life. And in that context, I think that will have an impact on people. And her and Marion, Marion the Jesus Peiro, were both very emotional in the appointment. I wasn't, because she'd already told me by then that she was thinking about having an ivory bouquet, and I'm like, whoa, okay, florist. Let's look at the florist. One florist she was thinking about. Then I then suddenly was on Instagram looking at sort of where they were tagged, and I was like, man, they've only done really ugly ball bouquets. I'm literally like, I'm going to need to get another recommendation from a florist. So I literally, by that point, and what's it like? Trying to
stressing about the flowers.
She's like, you look like you're not paying attention. You look like on your phone. It's like, yeah, I am on my phone because I'm really worried about flowers now.
So funny.
I was like, what colour? I was like, okay, no. So yeah.
We've got like a whole video about that on our reels, if you scroll back, where Emma's like, with Chloe, showing different types of white bouquet and how they look against your dress. So it's like a big thing for you.
Well, the thing is, I get the kind of direction of travel. People want to have a colourless bouquet. And I think some people find, say, white or ivory or cream flowers the height of sophistication, which they can be. I mean, garden at Sissinghurst, for example, do you know what I mean? It's like there's a lot of purity, a lot of symbolism in white flowers. There is no purity and symbolism of holding something that looks like a septic cauliflower next to a dress, or something that looks fluoro white next to quite a cream dress. So to get something and also, to be fair, you need to consider the light source in which you're looking at that, how it's going to be photographed. And like people like even Chloe, who knows this stuff, like hold me a picture, goes like, this bouquet matches. It's like you have no idea if that's been filtered by the photographer.
Yeah.
You don't know what's happened to that. You know, so yeah, I think to get that kind of that look, I understand it, but it's one that needs to be approached very kind of well. But I don't know what it is about quite a lot of like wedding planners and rich people is why they have a ball of flowers where, you know, the bouquet is not the sum of its parts. Do you know what I mean? You've got a load of lovely flowers and the bouquet looks the worse for it. Yeah. So I don't get it. But yeah, so that's going to be something
that's a thing.
I have to, yeah. I mean, to be fair, because I'm actually going to the wedding. So if the bouquet turns out it's horrible, Chloe in the morning would go, well, did anyone see my bouquet? I was like, no. I haven't.
Emma's
I
throwing the
have never
bouquet
seen
early.
it. How very dare those people not show up with a bouquet for you? Or that, I'll be like, oh,
You're going
this.
to turn up with different bouquet options, aren't you, in
Yeah,
your
I'll be out in
suitcase?
the garden, like of the hotel, like pruning some stuff to go in it. Do you know what I mean? It's like putting lipstick on it.
Oh my God. You're going to like find an uninvite.
Yeah, I know. Literally, it's
You're
like,
not coming.
it seemed to be an oversight that we invited you. We're like, I don't know what's happened there. Yeah, I know. So yeah, that was like, yeah, it was, but it was so lovely, and it was really nice to be in Barcelona outside of Bridal Week actually, and for it to be relaxed, and then you have, you know, a slow amount of time, and also like, you know, Chloe's not a big drinker. We weren't having a wild time. You know, you can find yourself at Bridal Week just falling into one major gossip kind of like circle after another, and there's intrigue and there's kind of side eyes on everything. So this was actually quite joyous. It was also really lovely to show Chloe and also Charlie Jesus Peiro HQ, which is in as glamorous as their main shop is in Barcelona, which is right just off the sort of Passage de Gracia. God, Spanish people everywhere cringing at my pronunciation. The headquarters of Jesus Peiro is in a place called Villa de Can, which is like sort of almost like straight on as you come out of the airport. And it's quite an industrial estate actually, which affords them all the space they need to have like the most incredible production space. But there's also a chocolate producing company in the estate. So
Does it smell
vaguely,
good?
yeah, the whole place smells of chocolate. It's really nice. And then also we took some footage, which you've probably seen, you know, when me and Chloe are talking against a blue, like a cobalt blue wall. I mean, well done, Charlie, for spotting that. She was like, I think this wall will be a nice backdrop.
Yeah.
So there's
lovely.
basically a cafe across the road from the Jesus Peiro headquarters, which looks like the cafe that you go to in The Apprentice when you when you're the losing team. So it's really quite like, it's quite shabby looking, I guess, but you get freshly squeezed orange juice and great coffee. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's that kind of thing. It may look very unglamorous, but obviously there are standards, which includes freshly squeezed juice. So yeah, that was really good. And then Oscar afterwards, like, would you like to go for lunch? And we're like, the beach. So I have basically then, he took us to, I need to actually look up the name of the town now, Castelde or something. So we went through a town called Garva, and then there is a beach resort which didn't seem to have any British people on it at all. And we went to one of those, I think I followed them on our, obviously we share logins,
I think you tagged
Pendulo. And Pendulo are in a town. I'm just going to look up their thing now. Pendulo Beach Club. Yeah, they say that they're in Castelldefels, basically. So it's quite close to Barcelona. I would say it would be like a beach. It's probably about half an hour drive out of central Barcelona, and it's the place before Sitges, which is basically the Brighton of Barcelona. So good. Oh my God, just to go and sit there and just look at the Mediterranean and sand and have incredible food. It was such a treat. And also having someone Spanish order for you.
Yes.
So
that was good.
So good. But yeah, it was really, really lovely to get, like, you know, the tomato bread and the kind of like anchovies and hamon and like salt baked fish. It was so good. I had
Remember, like before the podcast, when I was painfully jealous and annoyed at myself for not going. This is not helping.
Well, you will just have to kind of like come to the next trip, basically.
Yes.
So
I'm going to. You won't keep me away now. This is it.
even if we have to drug you and get you onto the plane, it'll be like a weekend at Bernie's. It's like, is she all right? Yeah, she's fine.
No, all I'm going to have to do is just spend the whole trip on the plane just looking at pictures of the food I'm going to eat when I'm there.
Absolutely.
That will just like a carrot dangling at the end of it.
Yes. Yeah, anyway, so that was really good. So, but I think what will be really interesting for anyone that is either buying a Jesus Peiro dress or thinking of buying one or has bought one in the past, or it's just to look at the incredible setup of their head office, you know, looking at the artisans, looking at the production process. I actually haven't seen the footage that Charlie got, but I'm hoping, and also they also had their own content creator as well, because they're going to use Chloe as one of their JP muses.
Mm-hmm.
So the process of the dress will be documented. Actually, I must ask them, note to self, to film it being cut or something or sewn.
Oh, yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, I'll do that. But
very
yeah, so
exciting.
that was it was so good, so lovely to be able to do that. And yeah, hopefully like coming to a like channel near you soon.
Yes, it'll be on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube,
Yeah,
you name
good.
it, everywhere.
So you might get a bit like I actually will bring me to my next point. Actually, it's like sort of using Chloe as a bit of an influencer, but I see her not so much as an influencer, but like an absolute colleague. She's someone that's been a muse to me, someone who is lovely to work with, not frightening. Understands the assignments always when she's working with us. Has been put up with being frozen by us and boiled by us. Like shoots tend to be either hot or cold. I remember one time. She had some product on her hair, which was supposed to be some kind of ethical, clean product that nearly scalped her as well. So it's not easy being a model, as much, and it's tiring and yeah, but some fascinating insights. Like I really haven't chatted to we've always got a major thing going on around us. So to be able to sit and kind of really
just slow down a little bit and just talk.
So lovely. Yeah, really lovely. And also talking of people who have influencers. Yeah, I saw a really lovely girl on Saturday who I've got a bit of a weird attitude towards influencers per se. It's well documented because I think weird. So, but I saw someone called Lucy, who has got an Instagram account and a business, Partners in Wine. So she has products that she sells and she reviews wine. Girl after my own heart. And I think this was a sort of suggested by like Georgie and Gusborne that she might be interested in coming to see us. I think she'd be interested in coming to see us anyway, because hello, we are interesting. But yeah, because of that sort of like wine overlap connection, and the kind of the joint interest that we all have in provenance and creation and taste making and that kind of stuff. So it was really good to meet her because although in theory, she's got, I don't know, like close to 100,000 followers. It's quite useful if someone with close to 100,000 followers mentions you. But, in any bridal year, that's probably 99,500 people who are not interested in bridal. They're only interested in wine. So so it'd be interesting to see how that develops. But it was quite nice. I was a bit, yeah, as I say, the concept of seeking influencers to work with for the sake of their following leaves me a bit chilly. And also it was really nice to also talk to someone and really discuss commodifying a wedding and whether that's something that they wanted to do, whether you used it as currency. I did suggest a couple of things that might work as fun joint business projects, but they weren't necessarily the same as commodifying your actual wedding. So I think I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but famously in the past I've had someone who was a big influencer in our chapel with a relative, and they couldn't mention us because they were under contract with the company that was providing their own dress. And I was like, I think that's quite, that seems to me quite sad, but probably not if you're being paid a huge amount of money for it and that's your job. But yeah, there are areas though where, you're just like, this seems a lot of access. But I suppose that's the nature of the beast, isn't it? Like, if that's the pact or the price you pay for that as a job, then fair enough, you still get to earn a load of money and you don't have to get up and go to an office you don't want to go to in the morning.
Yeah.
So yeah, get to but I like it when people have got a passion and an interest and an expertise, because then it's a two-way street of learning.
Yeah.
I've had someone in the shop in the past as well, a big fashion influencer, who I just thought was a spoiled and petty madam. Got a load of stuff, never mentioned us once. Didn't say thank you, didn't say thank you afterwards. And I was like, oh, come on, love. Do you know what I mean? It's like, this is not like a giant company that you're working with. This is not like a sort of, Apple phone that you've been given.
Mm.
These are things that have cost small businesses an amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
They were very tasteful and well thought through.
Yeah.
No, nothing.
No, I think that is the difference between, influencers that have got something to say and they've got an opinion, and they've got, she's got her product, she's got the wine that she talks about, and it's more specific rather than just like, here is this expensive thing that you should buy just because I'm buying it. This is what I bought today, and you should buy it too. It's just, there's the difference, isn't it, between types of influencer, and I think there's one that's more suited for us than the other.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, but anyway, I had a lovely time. It's fantastic. And also, like, you couldn't really get from her Instagram feed that she was a sort of Gal Gadot, Amazonian, like, incredibly, do you know what I mean? It's just like, I feel like that's the thing that people say to people on telly when you see them in real life. Oh, you're a lot bigger than I thought you'd be, or a lot smaller, whichever way it is. Do you know what I mean? But you've got no sense of scale. She just looked great because she was like, 5'10" and looked fabulous in clothes. So
there's a girl that I play D&D with every week on video, and so I've never seen her stand up. It turns out she's actually 6 foot, and I just would never have guessed that just from talking to her head and shoulders every week. You can't really tell.
Yeah. And she was lovely though. So I'm like, yeah, get me. So I feel like experts with followers that might cross over in interests with us, that I think I'm quite there for that.
Yeah, I think so too. And also she posted on her stories of herself wearing Campbell by Nautier and looked amazing in it. So that's also great.
Yeah, I know that's not bad.
With a glass of good spawn.
Yeah. Yeah, us ticking all the like proper marketing boxes there. So
yeah.
Talking of marketing.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
This trend.
Oh, this trend, propaganda that I'm not buying into.
Yeah.
That one. Or
that one.
Not a fan.
I kind of like, obviously you've sent me a couple of articles. I've had a look at it. I followed a few hashtags. It's weird, isn't it?
It is weird. So it started off on TikTok, and people will say propaganda that I'm not buying into on social media, and it's just things like, oh, social media is not real, things like that. But then it's kind of developed, and our businesses are sharing their own versions, which are clearly salesy, aren't they?
Yeah, because it basically, for us to believe that propaganda exists, I could imagine that they say, like, to be fair, if you look at, Meta or Elon Musk or something, there are political agendas there. Do you know what I mean? So, by the way that they filter an algorithm, they algorize stuff. Can you use that as a verb? To algorize? Anyway, whatever. But basically, so I can see how social media companies can be used to peddle propaganda, misinformation, false information, political bias, all that kind of stuff. So I've got that. That is the very definition of propaganda. So they could prioritize one message over another, bury other messages that they don't want you to see. So I can see how that is like propaganda I'm not buying into is, in itself an act of resistance. But basically, I did a bit of like just reading around on it and got a few bits and pieces of things. But it's basically like, if you look at that, one of the things that I looked at was about the fact that, obviously the algorithms give you more of the stuff that you're looking at. So it means that you're like, if you're constantly looking at something, your biases are already being confirmed by the algorithm. So it's kind of like propaganda is something that you're then feeding yourself, and it's confirming your own bias, and so you're ready to eat it all up. So it's kind of and it's also, loads of people have mused on propaganda before, but it's like, definitely it's like more easily spread when it's about rage and hate and division and things like that. It gets people
Mm-hmm.
really hot under the collar. But it's kind of, yeah, so I feel like that is, I can see where it might have started from, propaganda, but it has to have the assumption that there is either a political complex or an industrial complex behind it that's setting an agenda that they are pushing.
Mm.
So imagine my surprise when I'm finding bridal shops getting on this trend. Do you know what I mean? Which is like, because like the
The
one
only
thing,
reason you're posting these things is to get people to buy from your shop.
yeah, and it's some of it I'm just a bit like I've spent quite a lot of time trying to convince brides that there isn't a kind of conspiratorial, framework behind the bridal industry, that we all don't sit in a room and decide that everyone must be blonde, white and skinny and rich. And that aesthetic is not, there isn't a kind of like group of people that sit around saying, and thus this must be the case. It is kind of like, that's something. And also, we don't sit around and be like, oh, this is how we're going to make, this is what we're going to produce this year. This is going to be the like in silhouette. This is going to be, more than anything, the most vocal people that I know in wedding industry absolutely disavow that. They've always said this is a collective of small businesses, all, really putting client focused service at the heart of everything they do. So to jump on the idea of this propaganda thing, and I guess what I also like when I've looked at some of what some shops have done under the guise of this, I'm a bit like, are we not saying that basically it just looks like, there's one here where it's like, standard sizing, pretending to fit everyone. We're not falling for that. It doesn't even make sense.
No.
We're not falling for the propaganda. We're not falling for dresses that can't be customised. But grammatically doesn't even make sense. Do you know what I mean? And also, it's like, so basically what you're trying to do is just say showroom lighting that makes everything feel beige and like zero support. It's just like, could you just get off your basic sales messaging onto a trend of like propaganda I'm not buying into? And also, to be quite honest, somehow, somewhere, brides and their entourages that come to us have already bought some propaganda that I don't know where it's come from. Lead times, crying, that kind of stuff, those kind of tropes. They've more or less come from like Say Yes to the Dress and things
TV.
that haven't really had an agenda. They've just had to have a narrative arc that makes the producers have something to
like on
to.
the Rest is Entertainment last week. Did you hear that episode about the guy that was like, I had an idea for a TV show in a bingo hall, and they were like, it's got to have a story around it, like not just be there. So that's what they're doing.
They talked quite a lot, didn't they, about like the Race Across the World and things, about casting like real people whose story arcs would be good. But I think probably the problem is the story arcs that we've seen in reality TV are probably the propaganda, if there was to be one. So in fact, if you would want to look at the architect of propaganda of the bridal industry, it's probably the TLC channel. Who've commodified our business and made it a sort of reality game show.
True.
So I'm not bitter that they didn't pick me for a job at all. Maybe that's why not. Maybe that kind of attitude wouldn't really fly with the producers of like,
I'm not doing this.
I'm not doing this. Why are you reducing my industry to this game show format? But yeah, so I was a bit sort of like, I think there's a lot of propaganda at the moment. Really seriously wrong propaganda, divisive propaganda, political propaganda. And as everybody would notice, we in Bush stay very far away from putting anything political on our channels as well, which doesn't mean I don't have an opinion on things that are political. But that's not the place for them.
Place for it, no.
So, so I feel like, that trend is like...
Dresses that feel meh instead of magic. Like, how is that propaganda? It's just doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. It's basically, this is a list of bullet points that you think your shop does well.
Things that they don't like,
Or things that like, I don't know. Yeah. So what we're saying is that propaganda we're not falling for. No, I can't. You've got to really think this through, people. If you're going to get on that trope or that meme or whatever you call it, just you've got to please, like,
actually think about it and
yeah.
don't just. I think people just see a
I
trend.
would
They're like,
be
oh, that's a
definitely
good trend.
yeah.
I'll
If
do
I
that.
would be like doing it, if I was going to say something like propaganda we're not falling for, I would be something like propaganda I'm not falling for. Grace loves lace dresses are made in Australia. It's a complete lie. They're made in China. But their propaganda, their marketing propaganda, is disavows the actual, like, source of their dresses. You know, and also like things like Justin Warshaw from Justin Alexander saying, you know, our dresses are made in China, Vietnam, and Myanmar. That's like owning up where your dresses are made. And he looks the better person for it. Do you know what I mean? So propaganda that we like shouldn't be falling for in the bridal industry is that your dress is being handcrafted by a semi-naked bikini-clad woman on a, you know, golden sand beach in Gold Coast. It's not. It's been made in a factory in China, and don't. So your propaganda on that is, you know, is definitely there and evident. Very much like the propaganda of all the Ukrainian-based labels. They're there because of the war. But nobody says that out loud either. So there is stuff, I think, in our industry, but it's not putting a sales message under a current trend.
No,
I feel like
no, propaganda I'm not falling for is just doing a trend because everyone else is doing it and not even thinking about what I'm saying.
yeah, it is quite. I actually looked up at the whole, like, just the hashtag of it. And I saw one. I can't remember what the account's name, but it's basically a whole account with so many kind of like asterisks and things on it because of the language she's using. But it's a whole like advocacy for people with long labia. And I was like, so she did a propaganda I'm not falling for this. It's like, so perhaps I would never have known that existed, or not that it physically didn't exist, but that was a kind of like a social media account I could follow.
Yeah.
Weird. So
No,
I
you
suppose, yeah, in some respects, it's obviously brought me to that point.
I live that with me from boobs to labia. That's great.
I know. I'm not sure what kind of explicit content that you need to be putting on this, basically.
I think it's
but
fine. Like, you haven't used any swear words today yet.
have I not?
I think so.
Oh, imagine
So
that.
normally I like notice it so that I can check off the explicit content warning.
Yes. So anyway, inevitably, as I say, it's like I just have seen it about anyway. So I needed to have a little like two pennyworth on that. But anyway, let's get back to our explicit sales messaging, shall we? Explicit sales messaging alert. The sale.
Yeah. Well, it's doing pretty well, but there is still some space. Anybody wants to jump on?
It's doing pretty well. There will be some space because when we sell free tickets on Eventbrite and people book up for it, if it happens to be a sunny evening, you get a massive drop off.
Yeah.
So
like, oh, I'm not going to bother because I've.
So I think last time we got only 25% of the people that have booked tickets turned up. So we are prepared to get a lot of tickets. Never in the history of sample sales have we sold out of stuff ever. No. We're not digging out hideous stuff to put back on the rails. This is all fantastic, like kit and caboodle. We have got, as documented, an end of a relationship sale. Sophia Villas, that's really genuine. Like one of the dresses, Karen in particular, extremely sad to see the back of. I love it so much that I'm going to get another iteration of that dress by another designer because it's so bloody cool. So yeah, I think it'll be good. And we're going to put out a classic edit. So we've got a few classic bits and pieces as well. But our classics are still bloody cool.
They're still cool, yeah. That's what
they're not some sparkly, lacy bit of like see-through nude netting with some nasty.
Just clicked on the reel. I was just going to say to people, if they want to request a highlights brochure, we've got one ready. So just a little sneak peek of what's going to be in there. You can just drop us an email and we'll send it to you.
Yeah. So yeah, and you will be seen by me and Ben and Charlie and Rosie on Thursday. So there's only 4 of us helping. So it will be definitely first come, first serve, but you know, we'll get to everybody. I was even thinking, like, not being funny, people, I love you, but I'm not giving you free Gusborne at like a sample sale where you haven't had to pay to come in. But I might even just like, if there is a bit of a queue and it's a nice evening,
Just crack a couple of bottles open.
yeah, I might crack a couple of bottles of fizz open and just sit people outside and be like, okay, you'll go. So I'm going to make it as lovely and as empowering and as positive as experience as possible. Or I might even get some of those little. I'm quite into moth cocktails in tins at the moment. I might just get. I might just
like
get
margaritas.
just get some margaritas and some palomas and just be like, right, sit out there with a tin of cocktail, like girl on the train, and see what you.
You've heard it here first. Like, come to the sale. You're going to get a can of cocktail.
I might even give you a glass. You never know, not give, but put it in the glass for you with a lump of ice. So I just
straws, stick them in there.
Yeah, I think so. Well, in theory, as I say, Marshy's supposed to be around, so I might get him to like bar staff it or something. Just be like, sit down and have a little chill with a drink.
Yeah, give him a job to do.
But I would say that never in the history of any sample sale we had have we ever sold out of things. So there's going to be plenty of really cool stuff. So
amazing. Yeah, and that's on Thursday the 29th of
yeah.
So you've got like 2 days to book, because I think I've ended the booking on Wednesday evening.
Yeah.
Although you probably could just turn up as well.
You could just turn up as well. Yes. I suppose you could.
If you didn't book and you were like, oh no, I really wanted to go, like, I'm sure Emma wouldn't be like turning you away.
Yeah. Actually, we did actually sell a dress to a walk-in on the last sale.
Oh wow, that's good.
Someone that was just local, yeah. So
yeah, if you're like driving past, you're like, oh, what's happening over there? Like, Emma's not gonna be like, you've not booked, you're not coming in.
Come in, buy some frocks, leave. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, amazing. So I feel like, how are we doing on timing? Do we need to talk about anything else? Are we now at 40 minutes?
We're at 45 minutes, yeah.
We're getting really slick and professional. 37 episodes in.
I know. Bam,
done it. Right. Okay, lovely. Well, we will need to probably chat afterwards, book some guests, do some stuff, and work out how our school trip to Southsea for the 50th episode.
I think we're going to have to make that happen now. Find out what date that's going to land on.
So many good things. I could take people on a real little kind of like tour. You could go to Frere Roses, look at some jewellery and some like shoes. Go to Lisa Dawson's, get a look at some Mother of the Bride stuff, some flowers, get a cocktail. Yeah, I feel like we should do it. It's going to be weird. I think we'd have to limit numbers though. I feel like we couldn't be taking 200 people around like a Pokemon Go thing.
Pokemon Go thing. Yeah, it's good. They like send their location as well for like where they're at. There's an app. Like, we could do that. Drop our location so you know where we are. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay. Have a lovely bank holiday Monday, everyone.
Yeah. I think I might have to like do a bit of gardening or something.
That's what I'm going to do when I put this out. Desperate to do some gardening. It's wild.
All right, lovely. Have a good one.
Okay. See you next week.
Bye.